Hello, Bigfoot enthusiasts. Scott here from Squatch America.
And Hannah, domestic goddess, chief cook and doggy mama, outside the paddy wagon on this glorious, glorious day in Rains County, Texas.
Yeah, we are right here on Lake Tawakoni, just out of Point, Texas. And we're bringing you today a fantastic report from 1986.
It was the summer of 86.
Good morning, Americans. It's Friday.
You're welcome. What makes this report so amazing and really worth digging into is the fact that it was submitted by teenagers. I know, but their experience led them to believe that they had an encounter with a juvenile Sasquatch right across the lake behind us.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, what makes this highly probable?
What makes it highly probable is the fact that there is not a lot, there is some, but there's, in fact, in 1986, there probably wasn't a lot of houses around here. But there's still not a lot of houses on the lake, as you can see behind us. And where this took place was actually right there, across from us. And this is prime Bigfoot territory. There is tons of trees, tons of shrubbery, tons of acorn, food, deer,
Water.
As we've talked about before, there is a lot of water. And from what I hear, Lake Tawakoni is known for its monster catfish.
Well, why don't we just dive into all this and see what we see?
I see what you did there. This encounter happened right over there, directly across the lake from us. And what's great about that, if you look closely, there is a ton of cover. Really dense forest here. A lot of wait-a-minute vines on the ground. By the way,
we have tripped over many times.
Yes, but it also great access to tons of water here.
So, while we've been here for almost 3 weeks, and while we haven't had any direct Bigfoot experiences during our time here, as you can see, there's no question why there are so many reports that come out of this area. This is prime Bigfoot home territory. The potential here for Bigfoot is fantastically great. It was a hot summer night in 1986, the kind of night where the air hangs heavy and the stars seem close enough to touch. 3 friends, teenagers full of energy and a love for adventure, decided to camp along the shoreline of Lake Tawakoni. The lake level had dropped, leaving a wide beach perfect for bonfires, dirt bikes, and, as they would soon find out, mysteries. We set up our tents and built a massive fire, the flames crackling and dancing under the clear, moonless sky. We spent hours telling spooky stories, the kind that make you glance over your shoulder even when you know better. By the time our nerves were frayed and we couldn't take it anymore, we left the campsite and retreated to the house nearby, laughing at ourselves for being so easily spooked. But the night wasn't over. Around midnight, we decided to head back to the campsite to douse the fire. Armed with flashlights and a little false bravado, we walked toward the glowing embers in the distance. As we neared the tents, we froze. There it was, the unmistakable sound of something moving inside one of the tents. The sharp rustling of nylon fabric sent a chill down my spine. At first, we thought it was a prank. Maybe one of our other friends trying to scare us. We shouted out threats, but there was no response. As we got closer, the tension was unbearable. Then it happened. The tent flaps burst open and a figure emerged, darting out into the night. For a moment, it was silhouetted against the fading campfire. Every detail seared into my memory. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Around 5.5 to 6 feet tall, it moved with a hunched posture, its long arms swinging as it ran. Its hair wasn't thick, but thin and uneven, sticking up in a way that reminded me of a young orangutan. The body was lean but powerfully muscular, built for speed and strength. We were frozen in place, watching as it disappeared into the darkness. The woods swallowed it whole, and only then did we realize we'd been holding our breath. Without a word, we turned and bolted back to the house, running as fast as we could. The next morning, after my friends had left, I decided to return to the campsite alone to clean up. Riding my dirt bike down to the shore, I felt a growing unease. The kind of feeling you can't shake, like unseen eyes were watching my every move. I tried to ignore it, but as I turned off the engine, the silence was deafening. Then I heard it, a deep guttural grunt that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. It wasn't loud, but it was powerful, almost vibrating in my chest. I froze, fear gripping me. I knew instinctively that whatever made that sound was not human. Terrified, I jumped on my bike, kicked it into gear, and sped away, leaving the campsite behind. Back at the house, I told my dad everything. He grabbed a shotgun, and together we returned to the campsite. But by then, the oppressive feeling of being watched had vanished. Everything seemed normal, almost too normal, as if the forest itself had reset. We didn't see anything unusual, and I now regret not checking for footprints. The sandy shoreline could have held evidence, prints, tracks, anything, but we didn't think to look. For years, I kept this story to myself. I thought I was crazy for what I saw, but over time, I've learned that I'm not alone. Others have had experiences like mine, and reports from this area suggest I might have encountered something extraordinary, a young Bigfoot curious and bold enough to investigate our camp. Even now, decades later, the memory of that night and the sound of that grunt give me goosebumps. It's something I'll never forget.
That was an incredible account.
It was.
It had all the makings of a Bigfoot. We had the sparse hair, the hair standing up, the hunched posture, and the long arms.
Yeah, and that hair standing up, it's so common in any young primate. I mean, just look at your average 6-year-old boy. Their hair's everywhere. Anyway, but what really stood out to me was the description of that guttural sound. So many times we hear from experiencers that when they heard it, they felt it even more than they heard it. And, it's that infrasound phenomenon.
Encounters like this remind us of the mysteries that are still out there. Whether it was a juvenile Bigfoot or not, this story is compelling because it left a lasting impression on these juveniles forever.
Yes, and they're taking that experience with them throughout the rest of their lives. They're not teenagers anymore. They're probably telling their grandkids about this. Because all of us who are teenagers in the 80s are now grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on it? Do you have anything you would like to add to this conversation? Go ahead, leave us a comment below. We would love to have you join the investigation.
And as always, just remember, our job is to investigate and explain.
Not explain the uninvestigated. So you keep watching.
And we'll keep squatching.
Now, go out and find Bigfoot.
That damn Sasquatch.
They're squatching, they're searching, they're cracking some jokes. It's Scott and Hannah, your Bigfoot folks. From campground to forest, they're keeping it real. It's Squatch America.